Now it's my great pleasure to welcome Cécile Riallant. She's the head of the Migration and Sustainable Development Unit of International Organization of Migration, based in Geneva, and I would like to thank her and her collaborators very much for making herself available and for their constructive input into our conference. She worked with UNDP before, she managed the UN Joint Migration and Development Initiative, and now again does strategic work on migration and development in the context of the Global Compact on Migration and the UN Network on Migration. And what is particularly nice is that she's here with us in person. So thank you very much for coming. Please, we are looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much for having me today at this global conference on the human rights to quality education. It is a privilege to be here and to speak with you today on behalf of the UN Migration Agency, IOM. So at today's conference, we do celebrate the 101 years of existence of World University Service. And before I begin, I want to express my appreciation of the WS's mission and for reminding us of the central importance of quality education for people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. Today, I will touch upon 4 key questions that will serve as points of reflection throughout the conference. First, why education matters for sustainable development. Why, and second, what this means for migrants and displaced persons. Third, how the COVID-19 response and recovery has impacted this. And fourth, what can we do to make a difference? So, as many of you are well aware, and as it has been said eloquently by previous speakers, education is a fundamental human right and is indispensable for the achievement of sustainable development and to address the all-critical important issue of inequalities. Education is not essential for individuals to maximize their capabilities and livelihood opportunities, but it is also important for building peaceful and prosperous societies. We need education to reduce inequalities and achieve gender equality. We need education to protect our planet's resources, and we need education to nurture global citizenship. And all these elements resonate very strongly when we think of the global phenomenon that is migration and displacement. That is really one of the major global trends that we have to work with as we are looking forward. And this very much in a context where in 2020, 1 in 66 children worldwide lived outside of their country of birth. Migrant children and learners of various ages are often those who remain excluded from education systems or underserved. For example, a recent Save the Children report found that 700,000 Rohingya children were being denied access to education across 8 countries in Asia. Even when migrants have strong skills and certifications, those credentials are often not recognized or properly compensated. For example, in OECD countries, only 30% of immigrants with tertiary degrees completed outside Europe or North America work in high-skilled jobs. But it does not have to be like this. When well managed, migration can be a win-win-win. Quality education can be a catalyst for significant economic and social benefits for both migrants, their families, and countries in origin and destination. And here's why. Education can help improve social cohesion by facilitating migrants' socioeconomic inclusion and addressing different drivers of conflict or displacement. Education is associated with positive attitudes towards migration. People with tertiary education are more likely to support immigration than those with primary education or less. Education is clearly a source of empowerment for migrant women. so they have access to higher income and therefore can enjoy more autonomy. Moreover, access to education and lifelong learning opportunities can help to ensure that migrants have needed skills to be successful in the labour market and adapt to the changing nature of employment opportunities. Investment in education may also contribute to necessary skill sets to fill gaps in the labour market in other countries or regions, therefore addressing labour shortages through migration. And we know that there are many labour shortages also within the academic world and educational world, so migrants are important assets in this sense as well. When migration is well managed, migrant workers such as teachers can also help to improve education systems both in communities of origin and destination. Also, families use remittances to pay for education. Remittances receiving households consistently spend more on education than those not receiving them, by 35% in 18 African and Asian countries, and by 50% in Latin America. This is very significant. So the bottom line, migration, when well managed, can be a benefit rather than a hindrance to quality education, which has ripple effects on all areas of our societies and economies. So in our world today, the COVID-19 pandemic, as we have heard, has presented new challenges, but it has also underlined the relevance and importance of the interconnections between migration and education. Disruption of schooling or learning opportunities is not only an interruption to education, but also disconnects individuals from protective networks which can make them more vulnerable and at a higher risk of violence and exploitation, and this has been said by my predecessors. An additional 101 million children in grades 1 to 8 fell below minimum reading proficiency levels in 2020, among which many children migrants. The pandemic's impact on the mobility of international students as well has been severe, and I'm sure you are very familiar with this issue. Students have been stranded both at home and at school. Many have interrupted their education, and many have seen planned foreign student exchanges cancelled, and we've seen foreign students in really hardship situation here in Europe. So according to the International Association of Universities Global Report, 39% international students decided to interrupt their study programs as a result of COVID-19 in 2020. So there has been increasing innovation, and I guess that's the silver lining of this pandemic and global attention to digital online learning as a result. However, still, the digital divide remains a crucial barrier to achieve online education's full potential to include migrants and displaced people, despite interesting innovation, as we've heard from our colleague from UNHCR. So the education sector exemplifies in a stark way why we must recover better and swiftly from the pandemic to minimize inequalities, to empower migrants, and to keep educational systems running effectively. So where can we make a difference? So to accelerate the progress that we want to see, and in line with the Objective 15 of the Global Compact on safe, orderly, and regular migration that focuses on access to basic services, and Objective 18 that focuses on skills development, combined, of course, with the all-important SDG 4 on education, we must advocate for flexible school environments adapted to the needs of vulnerable groups. We must build on technological advances and foster virtual student mobility for continued global advancement of research and knowledge sharing. We must invest in skilling and reskilling migrants and returnees to increase their access to decent work. We must expand regular pathways for academic and student mobility. And this is just good business. In fact, when post-study work visas were restricted in the UK, the number of Indian students fell by 50%, with huge financial impact. So there are several examples of efforts being taken around the world that could be scaled up or replicated to create the change we need to see. For instance, IOM in Indonesia has supported the provision of internet allowance to ensure continued distance learning for migrant children, as well as training for teachers on psychological well-being of migrant children in distance learning environments. The Serbian Ministry of Education produced an expert manual for teachers in schools on supporting migrant children through support to adapt and manage stress and learn the Serbian language. The ASEAN's mutual skills recognition agreements focus on categories of highly skilled migrants. They are currently piloting agreements in certain lower skilled sectors, providing an opportunity for all migrants to access decent work. I'd like also to refer to ongoing efforts that are being made by IOM and with our UN partners to provide practical guidance and tools to development practitioners in the education sector to integrate meaningfully human mobility and migration into their work. And my colleague Alison Talkers will speak to it during one of the working groups later. So, in conclusion, although catered and context-specific approaches to improve the quality, inclusivity, and sustainability of education have upfront costs, and this is particularly the case in emergency settings, these efforts contribute to longer-term benefits for migrants themselves, as well as the wider community. After all, education is the foundation for expanding opportunities, transforming economies, fighting intolerance, protecting our planet, and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. We must seize all opportunities to make sure that no one is left behind and leverage the potential of migration for a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much for highlighting the potential of migrants and the need to offer adequate quality education also for this group.